We're turned on? Awesome. This is Monday, October 5th. This is a meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee. I call the meeting to order. If we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I see we have nobody here for Citizens Open Forum. So we'll move on to the minutes from our August 31st meeting. Does anybody have any comments? Yes, Ken?
On the list of those present, I believe that Alexis Wells was here. Technically, he was here, so.
Okay, so we're adding
Alexis Wells, yes. Along with Chip. Well, Chip's listed.
Yeah, Chip's listed. Any other comments to the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes with the change?
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes. Okay, so here we are. And I want to thank Anne for this great book with all of the changes. So it was very easy for me to go over and actually went through all of them. And it looks really good. I only found 2 little typos. And anyway, so I thought what we'd do is just go through. I've got them here in order, and I'll go through and call out the committee person who was responsible for that chapter to see if you have any comments or changes to the draft. Does everybody have the copies here of their chapters? Okay, excellent. So chapter 1, we'll just jump right in. Ken, general provisions. Okay, no changes. Is there anybody else who saw anything in general provisions? Do we need to have a motion for each chapter or just go through the whole thing? Okay. All right, chapter 2, administration. Ken.
Fine and dandy. Nice and easy with the red and blue. Very nice, yeah.
I remember that.
Okay, moving on.
Real quick,
Yes.
if I can add one thing. I did see something in section 2, and I just don't recall it, but we're doing an increase every 3% every October 1st. Is that in perpetuity? No cap?
I believe that's,
The way that it reads right now would be 3% every year until changed by further ordinance, because it's only in existence for the 2 public hearings that take place to change it.
Okay. Makes sense.
It can always be changed,
Okay.
month to month.
okay, any other comments to chapter 2? All right, chapter 6, advertising. I have no changes to no changes.
Well done.
And then chapter 10, amusements. I had no changes or comments. Does anybody else have any comments or issues with chapter 10s?
Nope.
Nope. And then chapter 14, again, just look through. I had no changes or additions or comments to chapter 14. Anybody else? Chapter 18, civil emergencies, David.
I was fine with all the notations, so nothing to add there. It looks good.
Any other comments? Okay, chapter 22, elections, Jared.
We're good.
I had one thing that I just wanted to maybe ask Tom about, the wording of let's see, one of these sentences here in the 22. It seems as though there should be a couple of commas, and I'm not a comma expert, so let me see where that might be. Tom, it's in that paragraph B, and anybody can comment here. I don't think I necessarily have it, but it says, if the death, comma, withdrawal or removal from the ballot, and I think there should probably be a comma there, of a qualified candidate, and possibly another one there, not that I'm a comma lover, following the end of the because it just reads kind of messy, and then possibly a comma after election, just to, because you can try to match these words together unless there's a comma to break them up.
Maybe after period. If the death, withdrawal, or removal from the ballot of a qualified candidate following the end of the qualifying period, but before the election results in no candidates for an office, comma, and then all of that's deleted.
Right.
And then in the event, and in that event, comma, upon the seat being officially vacated, comma, city council will fill the vacancy. I mean, I would say definitely a comma after period before the but, just so you could breathe.
Okay with you? Yeah, okay, it is.
Anybody have any other commas they might want to add? Maybe a comma after the but? I mean, before the but, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so one comma.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So one change on chapter 22. Chapter 26, environment, Steve?
I had changes to paragraph 26.05. 26-1110, subsection B, it reads recreational files. So that should be fires.
Yes.
And it says also subsection B, to spread to within 15 feet of a structures. That should just be structure. And let me see if I have anything else. Section 26.10, underneath the listing of all the trees. Our discussion to add only smaller trees may be planted between a sidewalk and a curb, we actually decided not to add that. So the reference to what we're changing, I removed, and the last sentence, only small trees may be planted between a sidewalk and a curb, I also removed that. What that ended up doing, at least on mine, Tom, was changing I don't know why I changed the numbers, but I don't know that it'll make any difference. However, we had decided that that wasn't something we were going to add.
Okay, so the additional sentence of only small trees may be planted between a sidewalk and a curb on 26-123?
Is not needed.
That one's just deleted, so that's
Right.
that's out, okay.
And then I think, go through. That was it for 26.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on chapter 26? Okay. So we'll move over to, in chapter 30, fire protection, Paula?
I had no changes, everything looked fine there.
I'm sorry?
No changes.
No changes.
Everything looked fine.
Anybody else for chapter 30? All right, Paula, chapter 34, law enforcement.
Again, no changes. Yeah, because that chapter was deleted entirely, so. That was an easy one.
Easy one.
Chapter 38, Ken.
No changes.
Paula, you might make it after all.
That's right.
All right, chapter 39, child safety zone. Andrew is not here. I went through and I did not see anything that didn't match my notes. So unless anybody else has anything, no, chapter 39 is okay. Chapter 42, Parks and Recreation.
So Chip he had also reviewed these, and of course, you know, that was one of the last chapters that we had done. And 42.07, expand responsibilities of park visitors. Number 5, that's on page 22. He said it should be except in those areas approved by, instead of approve, the department director, or his or her designee, or persons shall use any skateboard, roller skates, hoverboards, inline skates, scooter, bicycle, golf cart, or any similar device in any park area. So to replace approve on that first line with approved by, and then replace the word familiar with similar.
I thought everyone did a really good job with this chapter because there were so many changes, and I had to stop and reread it a few times to just try to remember everything that we said. You know, the only thing that they didn't address in here was signage, the issue of signage, and we talked about it, but there's all these rules now, and it doesn't say that parks will provide any kind of signage or communication to the park users to let them know that any of this exists. I suppose that's just an internal issue they'll have to deal with, but.
It's like any other code. You don't want your city to become overburdened with signs everywhere, so.
But we were out at Arields Park this weekend. It was filled with dogs. So, yeah.
It's a matter of enforcement, and so we could send code enforcement out there, but it's whatever you want to make a recommendation, we'll bring it forward. But there wasn't any specific direction to add signs anywhere, and so Ann and I didn't do that.
I just had that in my notes, and that was the one thing that didn't get picked up. There is a typo on section 42-44 under section A, or the fifth line up from the bottom. At the end of that sentence, no person not using the part, P-A-R-T, should be park, P-A-R-K.
Page is that on?
That's on page 27. That's about halfway through that blue text on the right. You'll see the word part, not using the part.
What subparagraph is that?
I'm sorry?
What subparagraph is that?
What's 42-44, letter A?
Okay.
No person not using the part instead of park. You find it? Okay. Was that the only change that Chip had, or were there more?
He had a couple of other ones. On page 24, number 5, where it starts with climb on or over any buildings or facilities. So his verbiage was climb on or over any buildings or facilities, fences, structures, or historic markers, not or, take that or out, and then boardwalk, and then the statues, public art doesn't go there. So it would read like, and the statues and public art would go after bridge railings. So his version would read like this. Climb on or over any buildings or facilities, fences, structures, or historic markers, boardwalk, and or bridge railings, statues, or public art unless expressly permitted by the department, nor shall any person stand or sit on any structure not intended for such use.
Okay.
And then he also had some changes on page 30. So On page 30, near the top, letter C, it starts with, no person shall have or be permitted to have any dog or cat or other domestic animal on designated park areas. Well, at the end, he wanted to add, at the end of that sentence, or that whole paragraph, in accordance with Florida Statute 828.12, cruelty to animals.
Just at the very end of that whole,
At the end of paragraph C.
That's in reference to the unoccupied vehicle, or the entire paragraph?
And it's in reference to unoccupied, right after unoccupied vehicle, in accordance with Florida statute, he thought it would just be good to have a Florida statute reference for that entire, don't be mean to animals.
Code section is that? The pages that I have aren't matching up, the numbers aren't matching
Yeah,
up.
Right,
there's two
so-
different page numbers.
Section 42-92, animals in city parks,
Subparagraph,
subparagraph C, which is being proposed to be added. And at the end of that, having in accordance with Florida statute 828.12, cruelty to animals.
828.12.
So it gives the city some backing for, this is per Florida statute.
Yep.
I think that's a good thing.
The next change he had was further down on page 30, section 42-111, and the proposed new text for letter A says adding a little bit of, I'll just read it the way he has it read. No person shall, without prior written authorization at any time, bring into or have in their possession or discharge anywhere on park property any toy firearm, air rifle, air gun, toy gun, and then we're removing guns that fire foam, darts, discs, or balls and replacing that with disc or balls. Slingshot, bow and arrow, or any toy or instrument that discharges projectiles either by air, elastic, or any other force. Water guns and foam projectile guns may be used, operated on park property at the department director's discretion, so long as it does not interfere with or disturb another patron's use of city-owned park property. So his change would be to have, leave projectiles. It's a little confusing. I think mostly he's saying it should be okay to have foam projectile guns if the director says it's okay.
That was what we discussed, I have that in my notes too, is the Nerf guns were gonna be allowed. So they added it into the wrong section. So he was just moving that back to where water guns and Nerf guns would be allowed, but they're calling it guns that fire foam darts instead of Nerf guns.
To avoid using.
Brand name.
Exactly, so that, because there are other ones. But yeah, so that just got put in the wrong place and he moved it, so yay.
The other item he had is on page 37, down at the bottom, section 42-144, letter A, and then the proposed added text, we had deleted the word however. He believes that however should stay in there. We deleted the word however, he believes it should stay in.
Does that make sense?
And those are the only changes that Chip had noticed.
And all those new sections were somewhat rearranged. I had to hunt and find them, but they're all there. So whoever did this did a really good job organizing all that. Any other comments for chapter 42?
I did, I had a few, actually. All the way back up on my page 22, Tom, I'm in 42-36.
42 dash what, Steve?
42-36, enforcement of regulations and permits. It's under the added wording is, it's 42.08, but it's section 4236 of the code. In the new sentence, it's properly designated leisure services department employees and city employees may warn participants of ordinance violations and report same to the property law enforcement officers. I think property should be proper. In 42-38, proper use of facilities, subsection G, it's on the top of page 23. For the second sentence of the new language is such conduct shall subject the violator or violators to the refusal of the park's privileges in addition to any penalty opposed herein. It should be imposed herein.
Oh, yeah. Good catch.
Skipping down a little bit, guys. Just a second. Okay, I had a couple more just ticky-tack ones, but they're further down. I'm just trying to find them. On page 36, it's new section 42-123, prohibited activities in city parks. Subsection B says discharge or deposit human waste, it's plural. I know it's very ticky-tack, but discharge or deposit human waste. I didn't think it needed to be plural, so I took out the S. And that was it.
Anyone else? All right. Peddlers and Solicitors, Chapter 46, Steve.
No changes.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to Chapter 50, Jared, Secondhand Goods.
No changes. To no changes.
No changes to no changes.
No changes and no changes.
54 is yours, also solid waste.
Yeah, it all looked good according to my notes.
Pardon me?
It's all good.
Okay.
Sorry.
Does anybody have any comments for Chapter 54? Chapter 58, Streets, Steve.
Check in. In section 58-90, construction specifications, page 46, subsection G, director or his designee, but we've been changing his to his/her throughout the code, so I wanted that changed. And that was it.
And that was in G?
Yeah, if you go, yeah, 58-90, construction specifications, subsection G, restoration of the pavement shall, excuse me, be as directed by the public works director or his/her designee.
How do you want that to read?
I think it just said his designee, if I'm not mistaken.
It just
The way it reads,
Designee.
I think it's there.
it just says restoration of the.
Or designee, excuse me, it just said, or my notes, I did it on PDF and made the changes, so they're just tracking my changes. It says public works director or designee, I just added his/her. Sorry about that, sorry for the confusion. We just have been doing that throughout the changes, so I wanted to make sure we kept it in place.
It's okay as written, in the blue.
Yeah, I was just keeping it, since we were doing it throughout, I made the change. If you guys don't think it's necessary, then it isn't. It was just one of those things that I saw that we had changed that throughout. So I wanted to make sure we kept it uniform.
We will change it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments then for chapter 58? On to chapter 62, taxation.
Fun one, but no changes, and I like the updates of the dollars, so it's good, no changes.
Chapter 66, traffic and vehicles.
Yeah, I picked that one up from Andrew, and I know you probably looked at it as well, but I think we captured all the changes, based on the notes that I had. So
Okay,
no, I'm fine with it.
and last but not least, utilities, Ken?
I thought they did a nice job on this rather lengthy chapter. I think it was 80-some pages, yeah. Nice job, guys.
All
Fine.
right, nothing?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comments to chapter 70, utilities?
Local check-in. There's something that I see in definitions, and maybe I'm misreading it under, depending on the page you have, on my, it's page 53, it's 70.02. Notation there where it says sewage treatment plant means an arrangement of processes and structures. Is that, or process, is that the intention?
Mhm.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Good enough, just checking.
Okay. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Big one.
So what's the next step?
I'll make the changes that are agreed to today, and then I'll redistribute the draft report, just to, give you guys another chance to look at it. And then at the next council meeting, we'll be scheduling the work session. Tom, is it okay, and I know that the chairman will be at the work session to present the report, but do you want the other committee members to be there?
I think that if you can be there, you should be there. There's no legal requirement for any of you to be there, because we'll handle it from there, but I think it would be good. I mean, you did a lot of work, you should take some kudos from the council, see what they have to say.
Right, so we'll coordinate the date to make sure it goes with your calendar and Tom's calendar and Al's and the mayor's, and then everybody else just has to figure it out.
We'll be there to support you, Pam.
Bring one other thing to your attention here. Under chapter 70-36, that definition of manufactured home, I should have put that in blue, because we're adding that, it's in red. We're not taking it away, so I just want to make sure that we're in agreement with that. That was the definition that Ken had requested, and I pulled it out of the state statutes. So we're going to make it blue, because we're adding that definition,
Adding it.
even though we've got it red here in our draft.
Yeah, that struck me too.
Are you talking 70.36?
70-36 is the code section.
The definition, yeah.
7001, like the first definition there.
Right at the beginning, it's 70.
Oh,
Blue.
That it should be blue.
Blue.
Gotcha.
It should be blue.
Okay.
gotcha. All right, so we don't meet again. We just get this and we see the final and, okay. So, good job, everybody. So, I think we finished in enough time for Polly to get to her class. That's right. So I'll entertain a motion to dismiss.
Can I just say something? Yeah,
Wait, I'm sorry.
2 minutes of your time. You guys did an excellent job. I just want to let you know that Dan and I really, really appreciate all the hard work that you put into this. I do this for a lot of cities, and you're a great group to work with, and I like the fact that, you know, that you've delved into every subject, and maybe it lengthened our meetings and so forth, but it was necessary. But in comparison to all the other cities that I've done, you guys did an excellent job. I just want to let you know that. One other thing I would suggest is maybe there would be a motion to move forward with this ordinance review committee report, because it was only in draft to you now. With those changes that you discussed tonight, that will be your final report. So it'd be adopt this report as changed in tonight. And so we don't have to come back then and, you know, adopt a final report, because this was really just a draft.
Okay.
So that's my suggestion.
All right, so we have concluded our discussion of this draft document. Do I have a motion to then submit this to the city as our final with changes?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
we have a report.
Thank you for your comments, Tom.
Yes, thank you very much. So, all right, well, I will revisit motion to adjourn. And we
So
have-
moved.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, good job. So masks on.
Only killed part of the tree.